This afternoon is Laura Henry,
Hello.
Taranta's chef de cuisine, and also one of our headline cooks, Antonio Flores. Round of applause for Antonio. There you go. All the way from El Salvador. Taranta is a restaurant that opened up about 8 years, and we opened it as a Southern Italian restaurant. We started making really authentic Southern Italian dishes, and we found that there were so many Italian restaurants after a while. So not until I started looking at some Peruvian ingredients that I found. By the way, I'm Peruvian, and I'm married to an Italian, so I had no choice about the food. So I found some Peruvian ingredients that are very unique, so I started combining them. I started making some pastas with cassava root, some cassava root gnocchi, the use of cilantro, braising, etc. So after a while, we found that the combination of the ingredients and the Italian technique worked really well, and they were new ingredients like giant Peruvian corn, rocoto pepper, yellow Peruvian pepper, etc. They give a diverse range of opportunities for chefs to work with and combine them. So today, we're going to do a lot in very little time. So if you guys get lost, just write it down. You can ask after. We have about 4 dishes that we want to demonstrate at the same time. And we're going to use a little bit of, you probably heard about molecular gastronomy, right? We're not a molecular gastronomy restaurant. We're a very traditional Peruvian Italian creative restaurant. But we believe that that's going to happen in the next 5 years. A lot of the chefs are hearing about foams, airs, caviars, etc., etc. So we think that a lot of the new chefs, whoever has an interest in food, should know about this because there are new techniques in the culinary world that are powered by the Spaniards, and they're going all over the world. And you can really play with it. The first thing that I will do tonight will be we're going to do a ceviche, a traditional Peruvian ceviche. And we're going to use some lime foam on the top or some mussel foam. And we're going to make it 2 ways. We're going to make it with the lee side, which is a natural component from lecithin, soy lecithin. Just mix it up and it stabilizes the foam. Then we're going to do some mussels, PI mussels, courtesy of Sunny Seafoods. Well, we're going to mussels in a bag. We're going to put them in a parchment paper bag with some scent air. After that, we're going to do a spaghetti with sea urchin, with botarga de mugine, which is a salted cured mullet roll. This particular one comes from Sardinia, and some rocoto caviar on the top. And after that, we're going to demonstrate a couple of dishes. Laura has a, the filet first or the brine?
I'm going to do both simultaneously. We have these are both dishes on our menu at Taranta. We have a double thick brined pork chop, and we also have an espresso crusted filet mignon. So I'm going to get both of them going, and when I'm ready to kind of put the dish together, I'll go over how we make each step and why we brine, why we put the coffee on the filet, everything we do for a reason. So I'll start working on those while Jose gets ready on the ceviche.
All right. So the first thing that we do for ceviche, you need a nice white piece of fish. This is now in season. Comes from the Carolinas or local? Where is it coming now these days? Maryland. It's a migratory fish, very fresh. You can get a really good ceviche out of this fish. It has a little silver skin, but it's really good. So you can find it almost year-round in your local markets. They're very fresh. So the first thing with the ceviche, you take the filet, and then you cut small stripes. By the way, this is a ceramic knife. You don't need to sharpen it or anything, so it's a nice thing to use. Stripes like that, okay? And then you cut very little square pieces of fish. There might be a little bit of silver skin in there that when we use the lime juice, they will get all cut off. That's about good for 1 portion. That's what we're going to work with. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Why not? I'm a glutton, so I always put extra. So, all right. In the meantime, Laura actually is searing a pork chop, and she's also crusting a espresso filet. We have a espresso coffee crusted filet mignon. And we found something interesting about the coffee that Laura will explain.
Well, it's a fact that coffee actually has coagulative properties. So what we feel it does for the fillet is that while it's roasting, it keeps the juices inside. And it's a big difference. We try to do it less of a pan sear and more of an oven roasted, slowly turning it on all sides. And it just comes out much more juicy and much more tender. And that's the same properties on why we brine the pork chop. Brining is a salt water solution. We use this pure sugar cane called chancaca from Peru in our brine.
Right. This one actually is still being shipped as the Colinita was shipped. This is the first way that South America shipped sugar to Europe. It's 100% sugar juice. They let it, sit, and that's how we sell it. It's also known as papelón or dulce de atado, and it's very common in South America, and we use it in our sauces.
Yeah, so we feel the brining properties helps denature proteins. A lot of people brine their turkey for Thanksgiving, and what it does is, in the scientific breakdown, it makes the proteins really tight by denaturing, but as they cook, they kind of untangle and unravel, which holds the extra water molecules that were absorbed by the pork while it was in the brine. So technically, we're increasing the weight of the pork chop before we even cook it, so it's losing less juice. It was already much heavier, it held much more of a flavorful liquid, and then when it cooks, it only loses a little bit. So we do both of those to make the meat more tender, more juicy. So don't order your filet well done at Taranta because you're defeating all our hard work and research and making it coffee crusted.
All right, continue with the ceviche. You have it in there. We just put some kosher salt in there first. Okay, you can use your hands or you can use a spoon. With the salt, a little bit of pepper. And then take a little bit of garlic in there. Smash it, just very little to give it a kick. That's it. So you mix it up a little bit, and then you put a little bit of yellow Peruvian pepper paste. This is a pepper that comes from Peru. Unfortunately, we cannot get it fresh off the tree, but we get it fresh frozen. But what happens is when it thaws, it gets all like soggy, so it's not very good to work with. So we use it in a paste form. A little bit of that. And then we use some lime juice in there, okay? And then we mix it up. Now, remember, when you make ceviche, the first thing that you want to do is do not squeeze the lime on one of those pressers for the lime that takes the skin, because the skin has a lot of oil and it's bitter. If you go to a street vendor in the streets of Peru, you see them squeezing the limes under running water. They do one, they rinse the water, then do another one, they rinse the water. That way, the oil of the skin does not get into the juice and makes it bitter. This way you have a fresher lime flavor in there, okay? You can see how it's already starting to change color. See? Now, we have some just thin julienne onions. What we usually do is you rinse it through cold water a little bit, and then you can put it at the end. You can put some onions in there, okay? Then you mix it up. If you like it spicy, you put a little bit more of hot pepper in there, right? And you let it sit for a little bit, right? That's going to change in about 2 minutes. I like the ceviche right away. If you leave it too long, the onions start cooking, they're not crispy enough. I like it almost medium rare. If the fish is fresh, you want that. So we have now, this is basically the traditional Peruvian ceviche, nothing else. Just fish, lime, salt, pepper, garlic, and onion. Some people put a little bit of cilantro, and then you start having all the variations of the dish. But this is the basic ceviche that we do in Peru. Now, we're going to top that with something new. Now it's when the so-called molecular cuisine comes into place. We have some lime juice and some water mixed in here.